Step back into the most iconic decade in American history, the 1950s. In this video, we're counting down 100 things only Americans who lived through the 50s will remember. The sights, sounds, habits, foods, fashions, and everyday moments that defined a generation. Do you remember milk deliveries at dawn? Black and white TVs with rabbit ears, drive-in theaters, soda fountains, party lines, and the very first rock and roll records. From classic cars in suburban neighborhoods to school air raid drills, jukeboxes, and corner drugstores, this video is packed with nostalgia that will transport you right back to childhood. Whether you lived it or simply love vintage American culture, you will enjoy this trip down memory lane as we explore the toys everyone had, the foods families loved, the household items long gone, the fashion trends that defined the decade, the moments in history that shaped everyday life. The early morning silence of the 1950s was often broken by the gentle clinking of glass bottles. Long before we dashed to the supermarket, we had milk delivered right to our doorstep. A friendly milkman would leave fresh, cold bottles of milk, sometimes with that wonderful layer of cream on top, nestled in a metal carrier. You'd open your front door to find this daily treasure waiting for you, a simple convenience that felt like a quiet promise of a good day ahead. It was a time when service was personal and trust was an unspoken bond between neighbors and the local businesses that served them. In the living room, the family didn't gather around a sleek, high-definition screen. Instead, the centerpiece was a bulky, wooden-cased black and white TV with its own set of iconic accessories. The rabbit ears. Getting a clear picture was an art form. You'd spend minutes carefully adjusting the antennas, twisting them left and right, extending them, or even wrapping them in aluminum foil, all to banish the fuzzy static and catch one of the few available channels. Watching television was an event, a shared experience where the whole family huddled together to see their favorite programs flicker to life in shades of gray. After school, the social heart of the town wasn't a mall food court, but the soda fountain at the local drugstore. Perched on a spinning stool at a long polished counter, you could order a real cherry Coke mixed right in front of you, or a thick creamy malted shake served in a tall chilled glass with the extra in a metal container on the side. This was the ultimate teenage hangout, a place filled with the sounds of laughter, buzzing conversations, and the clatter of spoons against glass. It was where friendships were forged, first dates happened, and the sweet, simple joys of youth were savored one sip at a time. When the sun went down, entertainment moved outdoors to the drive-in movie theater. Families would pile into the station wagon, pay by the carload, and find the perfect spot in front of the giant outdoor screen. You'd hang a clunky, tinny-sounding speaker on your car window, and as the sky darkened, the magic would begin. The experience was about more than just the film. It was about the privacy of your own car, the thrill of being out late, and the inevitable foggy windows that had to be wiped clear. It was a uniquely American way to watch a movie, creating memories that lasted long after the final credits rolled. Back at home, the telephone was a shared commodity. Many families had a telephone party line, meaning you shared a single phone line with several of your neighbors. Picking up the receiver often meant hearing someone else's conversation already in progress. There was a special etiquette involved. You had to wait your turn, keep your calls brief, and hope no one was listening in on your private chats. It taught a generation about patience and community, even if it sometimes meant missing an important call because Mrs. Henderson down the street was catching up on the town gossip. The political landscape of the decade was dominated by one simple, powerful slogan: "I like Ike." Support for President Dwight D. Eisenhower was visible everywhere. His cheerful face and catchy phrase appeared on Ike buttons that were proudly pinned to jackets, hats, and even school lunchboxes. These little metal discs were more than just campaign memorabilia. They were a symbol of the era's optimism and a sense of national unity. Seeing those buttons was a constant, friendly reminder of the man leading the country through a period of peace and prosperity. For teenage girls, the signature fashion of the 1950s was unmistakable: the poodle skirt. These wide, felt circle skirts, often decorated with a whimsical applique of a poodle on a leash, were the height of style. They were perfect for twirling on the dance floor and were almost always paired with a crisp blouse, a cinched belt, and a pair of classic saddle shoes. This iconic outfit captured the fun-loving, youthful spirit of the decade and remains one of the most enduring symbols of 1950s fashion, instantly evoking images of sock hops and high school romance. The 1950s also heard the birth of a revolution, a musical one. Rock and roll arrived on the airwaves, and nothing was ever the same. The electrifying rhythms of Elvis Presley, the groundbreaking guitar riffs of Chuck Berry, and the rebellious energy of Little Richard shocked parents but captivated their children. Kids across the country were tuning in to secret radio stations late at night, buying 45s, and learning to dance in ways that defied their elders' conservative sensibilities. This new sound wasn't just music. It was a cultural earthquake that gave a voice to a new generation. The future of dining arrived in a foil tray. Before the age of microwaves, homemade TV dinners felt incredibly futuristic. You'd peel back the aluminum foil to reveal a neatly compartmentalized meal, perhaps Salisbury steak with mashed potatoes, peas, and a little brownie for dessert. After heating it in the oven, you could eat it on a tray right in front of the television. It was the ultimate modern convenience, combining the novelty of prepackaged food with the thrill of watching your favorite show, and it changed the way families thought about dinner time. The anxieties of the Cold War trickled down into the classroom, where students practiced school air raid drills. At the sound of a siren, children were instructed to duck and cover, diving under their desks and covering their heads with their hands. These drills were a sobering and routine part of school life, a constant reminder of the nuclear threat that loomed over the world. For the kids who practiced them, it was a strange and sometimes frightening ritual that blended the innocence of childhood with the very adult fears of the atomic age. Despite the rise of TV dinners, one tradition held strong: the Sunday family dinner. This was a weekly ritual where everyone gathered around the dining room table for a hearty home-cooked meal. The menu often featured comforting classics, like pot roast with potatoes and carrots, or perhaps a baked ham. And no 1950s table was complete without a brightly colored Jell-O mold, often filled with fruit, or even shredded vegetables. It was a time for connection, for sharing stories from the week, and for reinforcing the family bonds that were the bedrock of the era. The sound of summer wasn't a pre-recorded jingle blasted from a speaker. It was the cheerful ringing of real bells on the ice cream truck. When that distinct melodic sound echoed through the neighborhood, kids would stop whatever they were doing and make a mad dash for the street, clutching coins in their fists. The anticipation of a cold treat on a hot day was pure magic. Whether it was a rocket pop, a creamsicle, or a simple ice cream sandwich, that moment of joy, brought on by the sound of those bells, is a treasured memory for anyone who grew up in the 50s. Childhood in the 1950s came with a sense of freedom that seems almost unimaginable today. Neighborhood kids were allowed to roam freely from morning until dusk. Days were spent on adventures, riding bikes for miles, building forts in dirt lots, and playing endless games of tag or hide-and-seek. The only rule was a simple one: be home when the streetlights came on. This unstructured playtime fostered independence, creativity, and a deep sense of community among the neighborhood children, who learned to navigate the world on their own terms. Pulling into a gas station was a full-service experience. You didn't have to get out of your car. A uniformed gas station attendant would greet you with a smile, ask fill her up, and get to work. While the gas was pumping, they would diligently check the oil, top off the fluids, and wash the windshield until it sparkled. It was a small touch of customer service that made every driver feel valued. This level of personal attention is a distant memory now, a relic from a time when a trip to the gas station was a pleasant, hassle-free errand. The American landscape was transforming with the rise of suburbia. After the war, families flocked to brand-new neighborhoods filled with rows of nearly identical ranch homes. These communities, with their manicured lawns, winding streets, and attached garages, represented the American dream. They offered families space, security, and a sense of belonging. This mass migration from the cities to the suburbs fundamentally reshaped the country and created the backdrop for the quintessential 1950s family life. Before online shopping, there was the Sears catalog. This massive book, often called the Wish Book, was a portal to a world of consumer goods. You could browse through hundreds of pages and order everything from the latest fashions and household appliances to tools, toys, and even complete mail-order houses. Families would eagerly await its arrival and spend hours flipping through its pages, circling items and dreaming of a more modern life. It was the original everything store, delivered right to your mailbox. A well-dressed man in the 1950s was rarely seen without a hat. Fedoras, trilbies, and Homburgs were standard daily attire, as essential as a suit and tie. Men wore hats to work, to church, and for a night on the town. There was an entire etiquette surrounding them. Tipping your hat to a lady, removing it indoors, that was second nature. This timeless accessory added a touch of class and sophistication to everyday life, marking a man as a distinguished gentleman. For women, the hairstyle of the decade was all about height and hold. The teased and sprayed look was the epitome of glamour. Hair was meticulously backcombed, or teased, to create incredible volume, then sculpted into elegant bouffants and beehives. The final, crucial step was a heavy misting of hairspray. often from a can of Aquanet, to ensure that the elaborate style didn't move an inch, no matter the weather. It was a high-maintenance look that defined the polished and perfectly coiffed aesthetic of the 1950s woman. In the living room, the record player was the hub of musical entertainment. Families would gather around the console to listen to their favorite albums. But for teenagers, it was all about the 45s. These small records, each with a single song on either side, were affordable and collectible. You could stack a pile of your favorite hits on the turntables, spindle, and the player would automatically drop and play them one by one. It was the original playlist, the soundtrack to countless parties and quiet afternoons spent discovering the next big single. Before cartoons dominated Saturday mornings, kids were captivated by early television shows like Howdy Doody. Broadcast from Doodyville, the show featured a cast of beloved puppets, including the freckle-faced Howdy himself. Alongside human characters like Buffalo Bob, children would sit mesmerized in the peanut gallery, participating in the show and singing along to the theme song. For an entire generation, these early kids' shows were a magical introduction to the wonders of television, filled with puppets, cowboys, and enchanting, simple fun. Hit like if this brings back memories, and share your favorite 1950s moment in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more nostalgia from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. Enjoy the journey back to the fabulous 50s.